Hey, hello, everyone. My name is Čoban. I'm president of Color Press Group. We are a publishing company present here in the region of former Yugoslavia last 33 years. So I'm in publishing industry since 1992, in journalism since 1990. Today, let me introduce my panelists, because we had some changes in the last minute. As you can see, there is new guy, not Marko Čadež.
I'm Marko Čadež from AliExpress.
Marko Čadež. Okay, there is no AliExpress as a sponsor. There is no AliExpress as a sponsor, so you can say that. With us is Predrag Nikolić from your company is daughter company of Chamber of Commerce. Exactly. Please introduce yourself.
Center for Digital Transformation. I'm a CEO of a daughter company established some 5 years ago.
Okay. Ljiljana, you are here. Ljiljana Ahmetović. Ljiljana is CEO of Shoppster, member of board of D Express, and member of board of E-commerce Association of Serbia.
That's right.
Okay, super. We have Saša Cvetojević here. Yes. Saša Cvetojević is founder and CEO of MBE Adriatic. And Goran Šaravanja is chief. This was also changed in the last minute. He is the chief economist, president's office of Croatian Chamber of Economy.
That's right.
That's right. Perfect. So when we are here, Predraže, let's start with you. This question was prepared for Marko, but I think it will fit for you too. Marko, but also entire Chamber of Commerce and also your company. I presume you have insight how the region breeds not only what's happened in Serbia. So, what is your opinion? How can business leverage digital transformation to drive economic progress while ensuring their businesses models and are sustainable and social responsible?
Yeah, you're right. This is more of a question for Marko, but
yeah.
I'll try to answer it. Well, first let me say that Center for Digital Transformation is a daughter company of Serbia.
Please introduce the center.
I don't know how many people know about Center. It was established some 5 years ago with a clear goal to help the Serbian SME to enroll with the topic of digital transformation or to start their journey of digital transformation, because at that point of time we had the Serbian SMEs were at the really low level when it comes to digital transformation. Some 60% of the companies had no intention of doing whatsoever within the field of digital transformation. And
when you opened this center?
In 2018.
2018.
Yes.
So before pandemics.
Before pandemics, yeah. That's also one of the topics that is really close to digital transformation, and I guess we will discuss that as well. But the thing is that actually out of the remaining 40% of the companies, only like 90% of them had some kind of intention to do something, but it was something basic, like starting their websites or basic e-commerce platforms and stuff like that. So in their mind, the whole thing was too expensive. They didn't know who to ask. So we clearly had no body in Serbia, at least no institutional body that can address this matter and that can actually offer some kind of education to the Serbian SME. And I'm talking intentionally about Serbian SME because it's 97% of Serbian economy. Meaning that it's actually a backbone. And I'm really glad that Mr. Henjak had presented his case in Gorenska Banka, how they did it. He really explained everything in details, but I have to say that for all of this to happen, you have to have some kind of a mindset at the beginning, to have some kind of willingness to enroll this digital transformation. And I have to say that we didn't have that opportunity in Serbia, because if you take a look at the average entrepreneur in Serbia, you will see that the business model is I buy something, I sell something, and I'm in between with some kind of margin and with limited number of employees. So in order for everybody to, not just to start the digitalization, but also to enroll digital transformation, you have to know that you have to change the mindset. It's not about technology itself, like the last sentence said it, but it's about changing the mindset, to know that it's not going to cost any jobs. It can only create a new number of jobs, but it's I would say 50% of the whole digital transformation process is about hardware and software, and the other 50% is about education. So your question was related to socially responsible business.
Which is the topic.
Yeah, well, these two topics of digital transformation and ESG are really two concepts that are directed to one another. You know, they're dependable on one to another, and
but not just to stay as a words or as a night vision, but in real life of companies.
In the real life, ESG is a huge platform for digital transformation to get some inputs from the science or business in order to have the potential for the improvement of existing products or to even have potential for innovation. So they're really co-dependable, I would say.
What was your professional experience before this center?
I was into finance. And
so you came from this area?
Yes, dominantly from finance, but then life took me to
the
IT. Yeah, definitely.
Super. Thank you. Ljiljana, you run e-commerce companies in Slovenia, which is in the EU, and Serbia, which is not yet. So you have also good view of what is happening in the region of Southeast Europe or former Yugoslavia. Give us an overview of the scene when it comes to e-commerce in the countries of the region, and what are biggest advantages and disadvantages compared to developed EU markets.
First of all, I would like to say that I'm really happy to be here for the second time. Last year was the first year for this Adria Summit, so congratulations, guys. It was really good, and I believe that this one will be even better.
You have even better view now this year.
Yes, and better.
Yeah.
So when it comes to e-commerce, e-commerce has been growing really rapidly during the last decade, especially due to influence of COVID. That I think that we are all aware of that influence. E-com started as a pretty simple form within retail, actually traditional retail, brick and mortar retail, just as one new sales channel. For the time, for this last decade, it has evolved into a very complex form. And when we are talking today about e-commerce, we are actually talking about the whole ecosystem. Ecosystem that consists of technology, hardware, and software, also very comprehensive, very robust data processing, also marketing, traditional marketing, modern and actually digital marketing. We are talking about also sourcing that is even more complex due to COVID consequences, and also we are talking about logistics that is also becoming very, very robust. E-com is developing in line with e-com consumers' expectations. Today, online customer expect everything. Actually, convenience at every point, it's a customer journey, from very concrete and very attractive communication and promotions to very simple checkout and different model of payments, different model of pickup, or very simple model return, the return option. And that's why we all, I mean, relevant representatives of e-com ecosystem, we are trying to satisfy their expectations, and we are competing for their time, for their money, for their loyalty, and that's how we are improving our products and our services. E-com has been growing, and it is projected to continue with growth, not as in during the period of COVID, but even it actually will continue. We have some different sources. If we combine different sources for which we can say that they are relevant, in order to come to some relevant projection, we can say that during the next 5 years we can expect a growth of 10 to 12% worldwide. When it comes to Southeast region, where we are also, it is a bit higher growth, and when it comes to our beautiful XU region, yes, it is around 12%. For Serbia, actually, it is expected to grow the most, around 14 to 15%. And from my
in these
point,
5 years,
yes,
not yearly.
No.
Yeah,
In the
these
next
5
during
yeah.
5 years, I think that is logical because Serbia is the biggest country in this XU region, and also
Starting point
pretty
was a bit
immature.
lower. Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
Slovenia is the most mature, absolutely. Take into account also our experience
And how
with
was
Shoppster.
growth, excuse me, during the pandemics, those two years?
25 to 30%. So it was
In this-
really
in
yes,
2 years?
Yes. It was really huge growth, growth that brought many benefits for e-com, but also lot of issues.
Even with all difficulties with logistics.
Yes, absolutely,
and
absolutely. Maybe a few words about Shoppster. We started 2 years and a half officially in Serbia as well in Slovenia. In Serbia, we started from scratch. And in Slovenia, we took over one pretty successful company. These two markets are really different in terms of maturity, eco maturity. We are growing and we are performing very well, actually, with growth rate of 100% in this year. That's how we finished previous year also, so that is great result. And we are, I could say, reaching our targeting position. Our targeted position is one-stop shop destination. In Serbia, we actually, according to research that we conducted and the data that we have figures, I can say that we reach our targeted position as the biggest pure e-com player, one-stop shop destination. In Slovenia, we are actually very aggressive challenger because competition in Slovenia is stiff, and there is one very dominant player, Mimo Vrste, that is part also now of Allegro Group. And I can say that Serbian market is still, in terms of digitalization, still behind Slovenia, maybe 3 to 5 years actually. So if we take into account some indicators, for example, from the customers' e-com readiness, average revenue per user today in Serbia is around 250 euros. In Slovenia, actually, it reached 800 euros. So Slovenians are used to buying online, and our people are getting used to buying offline. Anyway, Serbian market has good potential. It will just take time. It is very good also that we have a lot of projects of digitization in Serbia, including state-supported like e-government portal or some others. But it just will take time to come to that level.
We'll speak later about
Okay.
your potential plans for another countries in the region. Saša, when I started my career as a journalist, as I mentioned, it was in 1990. Tito's picture was still on the wall in the newsroom. I was typing on typewriter and holding a cigarette in my hand. So all three of those things,
Nice time.
that was 1990. I said 90 year, I don't know how people remember this exact year, 1990. This was, for me, this was the last year of good, peaceful life from socialism and kind of economic stability. And first year, so year before war, and first year of freedom of press, of freedom of democracy. So for me, year 1990 was a really good year. So all three of those things no longer exist today. When you started working in logistics, the delivery note was written by hand, the warehouse was kept on cardboard cards, and the communication was made by fax, as you once said. How do you view digital transformation in your industry from your beginnings to today?
Oh, thank you for explaining how old I am, but still, I was pretty young in those times. So
You said so.
Yes. So really, when I started, it was still, these cards which you were like using to keep the track of the warehouse, and now we do have, all of the things like warehouse management system. Now I'm also speaking with a company that is like one startup that is promising that they're going to be able to do voice picking, meaning that you are going to say what you need, and then the warehouse management would lead you to the place, so that it is going to be more and more automatized. But the thing is that this digitalization is not something that comes overnight. So it was really like a process. It really started slowly. It was, of course, the former generation of our fathers were really most of them were not taking it so fast and so serious, and always when there is this kind of changing of technology, this opens the window for the newcomers to enter. This was the window that I used in end of 90s, and that's how I started in the logistic business. And today it ended up that I have the company which is doing logistic and distribution. It's called Insako. We are like a middle-sized distributor of fast-moving consumer goods, but also MB, which started like 5 years ago. It's a chain of stores which basically helps and enable digital commerce to do all of kind of offline stuff. So if you can put the border, it would be digital. Usually people who do e-commerce, they're pretty good in digital, but when you cross the line, when you come to the physical goods, when you need to take care of returns, stock management, picking, packing, communication with the customer, solving claims, sometimes they are not so good. And more and more we understand that, especially with the generation of let's say, millennials, they are not so fond of talking with people and doing with it. They are really more comfortable in online space. So we are enable them to concentrate on the things they like, and we do fulfillment and everything else for them. Just briefly to introduce, it's much easier to understand what MB is doing if you have traveled through the US, for example. You have seen multiple UPS stores. So UPS stores for Amazon, for everybody, they are doing returns and everything. You just simply order like 5 different shoes, and then you pick 1 or 2, and the rest you just put on the counter on any UPS store and you leave. So UPS acquired MB in early 2000s, and they converted most of the MB stores in UPS stores. So when you enter to the UPS store in US, in some of them you can still see parts of the furniture from the MB time. So MB now do the business in the rest of the world under the Mailbox Etc. brand, and we are a master franchisor for the region. We are just now opening the last market, which is Macedonia. All of the rest, the former Yugoslavian market, are covered.
North Macedonia, please.
Yes, has to be politically correct.
Yeah.
North Macedonia.
Yeah,
so
some Greeks are in the audience.
And in this process also, what we found out that I would say in last 2 or 3 years, the biggest cost and the biggest obstacle is IT. So regardless even of the money, it's not easy even to find the people who are going to do it properly and who are going to be, let's say, on top of the things in order to enable you to scale so fast as you think you should scale, or so fast at least you see some competitors are doing it.
And this is new? Why is that so?
So it's not so new, but I think first of all, to find, I also have the let's say medium-sized software development company based in Croatia. So to find the software developer, the proper one, it's not easy, it's expensive. And the third thing is that especially the younger software developers are not so found to work on this boring stuff, which is logistic, accounting stuff. So it's much more fancy.
Creative.
Yes, much more fancy to work for. In Croatia, we have Porsche Digital, for example. We have Rimac Automobile. We have many more sexy things to work on. Yeah, and to bring them to work in the boring industry, which they consider like our industry is not so easy. So it is going to be more challenging in the future for taking this digitalization road to the future.
You mentioned millennials. When you compare, when you try to compare consumers' habit of 3 generations, baby boomers, X generation, millennials, and Z generation, what can you say about differences in from your experience?
As we heard, I think the difference between Serbia and Slovenia, Croatia is somewhere in the middle in e-commerce. So first of all,
Serbia is like baby boomers, and
yeah, I would say I'm not so expert in this, but I would say that still the e-commerce is mostly driven by younger generation. And what I cannot understand also is, maybe we can discuss this also, why it is the reason that in our region, especially Serbia and Croatia, in Serbia even more, in Croatia a bit less, probably in Slovenia even less, the people are still paying cash on delivery when they are ordering online. So this is like strange mix. It's like, I don't know, you coming here to the hotel of 5-star, and then what you are doing, I don't know, you are going to move the chairs by yourself or something. So if you already are in the environment which is fully digitalized, you still use very old-fashioned stuff. So it's probably some kind of mix of baby boomer habits.
Have you been in Bosnia in the meantime?
Yeah, in Bosnia is I think 90% of the people paying cash. So it's really like strange environment, and I think it is going to change relatively fast. I think especially in the Serbia, when Bazaar entered to Serbia into e-commerce, I think Tana made really like a big impact down there, and I think everything started to move. So.
Thank you. Goran, Croatia started this year with two big challenges: entry into Eurozone and entry into Schengen zone. 4 months later, what evaluation would you give to Croatian public administration, banks and private sector when it comes to adapting to new circumstances?
Thanks for the invitation. I'm glad to have heard everything from my fellow panelists, which makes it easier for me to take part because they're experts. In terms of joining the Eurozone and Schengen, in Croatia, as in every other country in the region, we all save in euros, which means that for 50 years we outsourced monetary policy to, Frankfurt. And we've just accepted reality. We're glad to be in the Eurozone. The first 2 weeks you could pay in both currencies. That's like ancient history. I don't think anyone really remembers what it was like. I think the changeover went very well. So I would say that if you had to grade the banks and the public sector and the public, they would be graded highly. Whether it would be
all three.
All three. I mean, I
Really?
think
Because we heard in the news in first couple of weeks that it was some difficulties with ATM machines and.
Yeah, sure. I mean, you're going to have these baby steps, but I mean, now 4 months later.
Yeah. Okay.
I would say that most people are used to it. I hear less and less people sort of like mentioning kuna.
Yeah, that's my impression too.
Yeah. So I mean, it really helps that, as a nation, we, like everyone else in the region, we've been saving in euros. It's not something really that new. It's more a recognition of reality, and and let's say thanks for being able to be part of the club. Schengen as well. To refer to what Saša Cvetojević said, I hope he confirms what I will say, because I'm looking at it from the macro perspective, is certainly for logistics and in terms of e-commerce, joining Schengen is extremely important. You're gaining an hour on the border with Slovenia and Hungary, even more. You know that you have regulations saying how long people can drive. So you're making a lot of money. It's tens of millions of euros of savings for logistics companies on an annual basis, which can only drive. It's like a tax cut. It can only drive activity of both e-commerce, the logistics industry, and it is definitely a plus.
Are there any challenges?
The challenges are to refer
for
again.
Serbia or Bosnia or other non-EU borders.
Let's start with the Croatia-Slovenia border, where the challenge is in terms of if you live on the border or close to Slovenia and are a business, you have even more issues in terms of retention of and finding relevant labor, because labor is paid more in Slovenia. You can, this morning I got in the car from Zagreb. I'm here. I'll be back this afternoon to make sure my son and daughter go to volleyball and football training, or football and volleyball training, right? So you have the daily migrations. It's less of an issue with Hungary, only exclusively because of the language barrier, only because of that. Clearly, when it comes to
what is average now in Slovenia and Croatia salary?
Salary,
Yeah.
I think
Officially.
Officially, officially we're close to €1,000 a month net in Croatia, and I believe
1,000. And in Slovenia?
I know we're talking about the future, but we're not there yet. But I'm glad you're optimistic.
Yeah, I heard too. So,
well, maybe I just didn't have enough sleep last night. I'm sorry.
And in Slovenia?
And in Slovenia, it's about 30% more.
30%.
at least on average,
Yeah.
and it depends. I mean,
So,
eastern parts of Slovenia are paid less than the western parts, which helps.
And
us.
this is big enough to create this kind of problem with labor force.
Well, it is, especially
This is the difference, yeah.
especially when the physical infrastructure.
Yeah,
is
if
better.
it's close, yeah.
And it's improved with the border. When it comes to our neighbours to the south and the east, I mean, clearly you have, I would argue, in living memory, you haven't had a more robust or firm border. So I mean, I'm in Belgrade on a regular basis, and when you cross the border at Chid towards Croatia, you don't see a lot of activity. And when you go,
Yeah.
let's say when you're crossing anywhere between Croatia and Slovenia, I mean, it's like, it's almost like the same place. You have Slovenes coming
Seems
to...
like nothing changed on our border between Croatia and Serbia in terms of.
Well, I mean,
yesterday we entered smoothly like it was
Yeah.
a year ago.
Well,
I don't
I
know what was your a day before. Yeah, before because of some constructions. Yeah.
I mean, maybe in
But
terms
when
of...
we compare with Hungary,
Yes.
which was always disaster in 80s, 90s, today, but with Croatia, it's not the case.
So it's more of an issue, although clearly now with Croatia in Schengen, in the Eurozone, perhaps, and perhaps Saša can provide more detail here, there are clearly opportunities in the logistics sphere to service both Bosnia and Herzegovina, Montenegro and Serbia from Croatia, as well as perhaps southern Hungary, but we'll see. Net, it's a clear positive. It's a clear positive for us, and I hope that for our neighbors, for Bosnia, for Serbia, for Montenegro, it provides additional impetus for you guys to do whatever you can to join Slovenia and us, because you've got two examples of successful Euro-Atlantic integration. Come and ask us. From a business perspective, it's clearly in all of our companies, all of our members from the Chamber's perspective, for you guys to be part of the Eurozone, or the EU first, and then the Eurozone and Schengen. And it would just help, economic integration. And the wealthier that you are, the wealthier we are. So from that perspective, we're all for it, and we'll give you all the support that you need.
Let's hope. Yeah. After first part, do we have any question from audience? Please. Do we have microphone? I think we have.
Anyway,
Yeah.
I can explain without repeating.
No?
He asked for our revenue, actually, GMV during the...
Please.
Sorry, okay.
Some bliže da.
According to GMV that we are generating in Serbia and Slovenia, we actually finished last year in Serbia with around 13 million euros of GMV, and now we are growing 100%. It was our first full year in Serbia. In Slovenia, around 20 million. We are also growing 100%. I believe that we have really good strategy, relying in a big portion, I could say, on United Group core businesses assets like media, telco. So obviously that econ formula works in this region. That's why we are planning now to go further, to expand our business in other ex-EU countries, and then other countries where today United Group operates. It operates besides ex-EU countries also in Bulgaria and Greece, and these markets are really very attractive in terms of e-commerce.
Any other question? Okay. Predraže, in what ways can digital innovations such as artificial intelligence and blockchain be used to solve environmental, social, and corporate problems? Are you afraid that artificial intelligence will be just an excuse for some people not to use their own intelligence? Yeah, because this we can see in the last couple of months when all this started.
That's more
for some people that I don't need to go anymore to in theater to read the books, to watch any TV series or movies, just to type there and everything will.
That's really interesting. I think it's an excuse for natural stupidity.
Yeah.
But the thing is that, and that's what I'm afraid of the most when it comes to artificial intelligence, that most of the people see it as a cheat code, you know, something to use in order to not do something. But actually it's completely different. It should be kind of a motivation for the person to grow, to see all the potentials and all the limitations, and all the threats of artificial intelligence, because artificial intelligence is not something that you can do tomorrow. It's something that comes after the baby steps or initial steps of digital transformation. In order to have artificial intelligence in use, you need to have all your processes optimized, all your data cleansed, or your machines to be learned how to deal with those data, and then you can get involved with artificial intelligence. In Serbia, there are more than, I would say, 50 companies already that are using I'm talking about the IT side of the whole story, that are using the platforms, in creating the platforms on the basis of, on the use of AI technology. Most of them,
In which industries? Yeah.
most of them are dealing with the energy systems.
Energy systems,
Yes, yes, optimizing the processes in saving the energy.
I was in conference last week, online conference. Yasmina was host, and guy, I think he's also here from video, from gaming industry. He said they already use like 50% of their preparing processes is held by artificial intelligence. Yeah.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
But in forms of traditional economy of Serbia, we found some use, especially, as I said, in the energy system, but also we have it present in a trading system, in a sense that a lot of the platforms that are actually e-commerce platforms are using the artificial intelligence, and I'm proud to say that our IT companies developed it, and now it's sold all over the world. When it comes to their products. So we do have that kind of IT knowledge, at least. Unfortunately, 80% of that IT knowledge is used just to be outsourced, not to be creative. And right now we are planning to anyway, back to the question. I don't see any threat when it comes to artificial intelligence. The only threat are really the people and the misuse of artificial intelligence and making some kind of fairy tales out of it. It's not that complicated, it's rather very simple. It's just how open-minded you are, actually.
Yeah, we are still, especially we from Serbia, we are still under impression what's happened yesterday in Belgrade, which is in some ways in connection with all those topics, and we are talking about future of our children and next generation if they will lean 90% of that kind of thing. What can we expect there?
Well, respectfully, I'm not gonna discuss what happened yesterday, but
no, of course.
I don't think it's a result of any technology
No,
per se, but it happened. Unfortunately, and hopefully it will never happen again. But in terms of blockchain and artificial intelligence, those are the technologies that are definitely future, especially the Web3, especially the mix of those, and plus the IoTs and stuff like that, especially in combining with what ESG really is. For instance, IoT can solve the problem of having dumpsters taking in Belgrade with trucks in the middle of the day rather than picking them up when they're really full. And even on the night, there are a million cases of use of artificial intelligence in the right manner. It's up to us guys to adopt the idea of artificial intelligence and to go and educate ourselves so we can all use it. I'm not talking about just about the IT guys, I'm talking about everybody, because most of the future, if we have the right use of artificial intelligence, most of the future jobs will be, I would say, prompt managers, the guys who know how to give certain assignments to the machine, and that will be the future because respectively programming and coding is also having less and less job, at least in this part of Europe, because there are new technologies like low code, no code, Even the chat GPTs can now go and do stuff for the programmers. So I'm thinking that not just the IT guys, but rather all of us should be ready to adapt ourselves to use of not just blockchain and artificial intelligence, but technology as a way of life.
Do we see in Serbia what our colleagues from Croatia mentioned, that kind of challenges in IT industry with labor force that they mentioned? Yeah.
Definitely, especially these days with the I'm not going to say crush of cryptocurrency, but with all that is happening in the world and in Europe, there are challenges, but there are always people that are ready to go and have some new experience. As I said, 80% of the Serbian IT labor force is outsourced by companies outside of Serbia. Only 20% are dedicated to
Serbian market. Yeah.
Exactly, to actually creating some kind of product, some kind of service for the Serbian market. Yes, or even abroad, but to create their own product. The reason for this is that the salaries, of course, were high. Now we're getting to some kind of peak of that the salary, but there are layoffs in the IT as well at the moment, happening at the moment. So
do we have any official figures about impact of Russian and Ukrainian IT companies that came? Like there are some figures that like 100, 200, 300 people of Russian refugees now in Serbia. Do you have?
Well,
do we have this kind of information?
What I know is that there are around 250,000 Russians that came into Serbia. Also, a part of Ukrainian.
Many of them
refugees.
are in this industry.
Many of them are in the IT. Many of them are really good IT experts. So, and of course, they found a job.
They registered many companies,
Yeah. So they registered also their companies. Yandex is also present in Serbia with testing their autonomous vehicle. There are also many different I would say, directions that they took. I'm not going to discuss it because it's I cannot say it for sure. So that's why I'm not going to claim anything.
But this is what is happening.
But the thing is that we are actually, our next assignment is to go and to grab these remaining 20% and maybe parts of these 80% that are outsourced, to give them the opportunity to first of all find the finances for their business, to get the inputs from the traditional economy so they can develop their own products and services and maybe to innovate, and then opportunity to present their products and services to the Serbian traditional economy, because that channel of communication is not open at the moment. That's why we're going to set up the Center for Digital Innovation, for Digital Transformation Hub from starting next month, and hopefully we'll use that space to create that channel of communication between the traditional economy and the IT. And when we were talking about the boomers, the baby boomers, the Generation X and Millennials and Z, in the IT, okay, you can work for like 7 to 8 years, having a good salary, buying a car, buying the apartment, get married, have children, and then at the age of 7 and 8, you get bored. And now it's up to us to use that situation and give them some real assignments so they can create some new products and services when we talk about IT.
Okay. Ljiljana, we have witnessed past 3 years of one crisis following another. We haven't even forgotten the pandemics yet, and the war in Ukraine started with all the economics and logistical problems it brought to the global stage. How do these crises reflect on your industry, from inflation, unstable sourcing, lack of goods, lack of labor, both high and low skilled?
So many issues.
I can imagine.
Actually,
Please, a little bit closer to the microphone.
Yes. Obviously, we are constantly facing different crises, and those crises are transforming and turning actually existing trends completely. we, as you said, we were witness of COVID. COVID brought immense growth into e-commerce, it turned things around, it changed the shopping behavior, but it also brought a lot of new challenges, especially I can say in supply chains worldwide. Actually, it slowed down in some cases also. It stopped temporarily flow of many raw materials, of finished goods, of intermediate goods, and that's why we, as a sellers, retailers, or e-commerce businesses, we were faced with the shortage of many different goods. That caused some poor offer, which means also dissatisfied customers. When you have dissatisfied customers, then you have some lost revenue and profit, of course. And it actually forced us, e-commerces, logistics companies also, to revise our supply chain strategies and processes. Actually, we had to give up of some products, despite the fact that we have some very profitable products. But if we couldn't guarantee for the delivery time, we just had to give up. Also, we had to invest more in supply chain, new tools, technologies, advanced analytics, also automation of processes, robotization that is very popular. That is also our focus now, especially in D-Express, our last mile business. Anyway, I think that we survived that period of COVID pandemic, and we learned a lot. But unfortunately, world found itself again in a very risky situation due to Ukraine war. Ukraine war brought new destabilizations, especially in the energy market, and it means also in all related industries and markets. Transport. That's why we actually have been faced with huge inflation. Prices of raw materials, of intermediate goods, of finished goods, of transportation services, everything have risen significantly. For example, in D-Express, our last mile business in Serbia that is really successful, but we have more than 700 vehicles. You know, that cost line, variable cost line, fuel, it just exploded with huge impact on our P&L.
How is with labor force in terms of drivers?
Yes, that is interesting actually. Employment is a challenge in the whole region. People are leaving, unfortunately, ex-EU countries, but also
especially this profession, because we have luck in public transportation in Belgrade. Yeah.
Absolutely, and we have issue in e-com also with IT guys, with marketing seniors. I'm happy today from this point of view to actually 4 years before, from the moment when we started with the project, I think that we successfully get it on board very good seniors who are today with us and who are actually leading our main departments, IT, marketing, operations. They know actually how to manage people and how to build and develop new e-com specialists. We depend actually on them. From the point of view, from the D-Express point of view, we have some chronic issues with some positions like drivers or warehouse also staff. I think that we found solution. We tested at the end of last year one new model in D-Express for warehouse workers. We cooperate with one agency from Serbia that actually engages people from India.
That was,
actually, we are really satisfied with them. And they are satisfied with the Express. We know very well what are our responsibilities. We are responsible to provide working licenses as well as their accommodations, and the agency responsible for sourcing in line, of course, with our brief. And
how many of them you have?
30 at this moment. I believe that it will grow. And according to drivers, we are actually resolving this issue through different improvements, mostly through the automation, different projects like, for example, parcel locker network. We launched the first parcels lockers network in Serbia. It wasn't profitable project, but now it's really profitable in terms that each parcel locker can change two actually drivers. And we are going further with very advanced predictions, so includes real-time rerouting for our drivers, and that's how we are actually bringing up their productivity and efficiency more than 20%. And I think that is the future for this job.
This is the best example of digital transformation and what it brings with itself.
Yes.
Two short questions. Any plans for the rest of the region? Any other countries?
Yes, absolutely. We are planning to go further with Shoppster, with the Express also. We are looking for some acquisition targets, I could say. I believe that Croatia could be next market for Shoppster. Bosnia or Croatia also for the Express, but you will be informed.
Okay. And another question, how important for you is that you are part of such a big group?
It is very important. Actually, I already mentioned when I was replying, we made some really good synergies with the existing businesses, with the telco business and with the media. It is easier when you are part of a group who has a huge media power, because for this business, no matter how good technologies and processes you have, but you have to build awareness of your business. You mentioned cash on delivery as an issue in Serbia. That is issue, but it is issue because it is really hard to build trust in e-com business. It is still young industry, and that's why you have to work a lot on your communication and your value propositions and everything else in order to build trust. So it is easier when you are part of such a big group.
Okay, thanks. Sasha, the lack of labor force and the new relationships arising from the digital economy, new business models, and the integration of previous visions from labor legislation onward. Into all of that, these are topics that I think touch the ESG agenda of every major company. How do you deal with it?
First of all, I would like, maybe is it throwing the bomb or showing the elephant in the room, but if you do start with the abbreviation, which is in English, and usually it is 3 or 4 letters, then it becomes a buzzword like it used to be GDPR or KYC. And if ESG is going to be like this, I'm a bit afraid. Especially then a lot of people will try to jump in the train. They are going to try to regulate, and they are going to be the companies that are going to force you, and then usually to pay and to have ESG as a cost, not as, let's say, something that would really draw your company into the future with really, like, at the end of the day, increasing value and increasing turnover, increasing value for the shareholders. So
it became extremely popular as these
yes,
3 letters. This is, I think, 5th conference in the last 2 months with this.
Exactly. This is why I'm a bit afraid of it, because when it starts from the big multinational companies, it could end up to be just a nice PowerPoint presentation. But then the guys from the government comes to help us, you know how it is, and they're going to regulate. And then there is going to be all the things like we have today in Croatia. I have really not nice examples with GDPR or KYC, what we are doing now. So like in the past, our contract between me or you, it will be like 6 or 7 pages, and these 6 or 7 pages, out of them 5 are what matters between you and me. And now it is 27 pages or 30 pages, and if we are going to put more abbreviation, it will going to be 100-something pages. For me, this is not the right way to do. For me, for example, ESG was implemented before people were starting talking far further. For example, I came here with electric car. I drive electric car from 2014. My people, my director in mailbox, etc., is driving Tesla. My guys are using electric delivery vans, And if there would be the bigger ones like the trucks, we are going to use them. We have power plants, electric power plants, solar power plants in our companies. So we are in the environmental. We are doing it for, let's say, since 2014. I'm driving Tesla from 2014. The second thing is around social responsibility. Everybody's talking about it, but through my companies, there have been at least 30 people who have been employed as a previous drug addict. Some of them are still working in my company. Some of them are now today even my business partners. Some of them are like heading the parts of my company. Those are the people that nobody wanted to employ. Yes, because some of them even had a criminal record. And then, you know, now you're going to start talking about ESG, and then somebody's come to me and he's going to explain me what is ESG. Sorry. So I think, first of all, to finish this story, I think we need to embrace ESG, but not as a free letter abbreviation.
And part of your company website.
Exactly, exactly. To put it in the mission and vision, and then it's ESG. It's not, and the second thing is, I think, if you are a real entrepreneur, or at least a proper manager in a bigger company, I think you should be aware that this is the way to go, regardless of all of the nice stuff in the presentation that's going to happen. This is about this topic. And what my colleagues previously mentioned, I think, about the labor force, I think somebody mentioned that in Serbia it's peak. I would disagree. We are far away from the peak like it was with the real estate and everything else. I think now with globalization and the digital abilities of the younger generation to work digitally, they can work from Belgrade, they can do like freelancers, and they are doing it already to the Silicon Valley, and you cannot then beat the price of salary or anything else that they are going to pay to the guy which is good and working from Zagreb or to Belgrade working for them. So I think it is going to be more and more leveled, it is going to be even playful, and it's really one of the challenge for us as a business people to try to mitigate this risk. Because in our neighborhood, to be able to afford the same prices of some softwares, usually now the companies has global pricing. So the pricing for one of my investment company, which we are doing in US, for them it's a peanuts. And here, if you're going to say that one seat of some software is going to cost like 50 euro per month, so it is going to be also a big challenge in the future.
Okay, thanks. We have last question for Goran. According to what you hear from your members, where is Croatia as the youngest member of EU compared to other EU member states when it comes to e-commerce industry? What does e-commerce look like in Croatian tourism as one of the most important economic branches? What are the main challenges and where do you see the biggest opportunities in tourism especially?
Well, thanks for the question and opportunity to finish in a little over 3 minutes. It was said earlier for people in the industry that, you know, when you're comparing the region, that Croatia is somewhere between Serbia and Slovenia in terms of e-commerce. Clearly, as the last member state to join the European Union, you would expect us to be relatively low on some sort of ranking, which is okay. I mean, you come in late, you have a low base and you have a higher growth rate, and you've got an opportunity to learn from more experienced member states. For us, I mean, what you're seeing is, you know, the main. I mean, it's household goods. That's where you see most of that. From when I'm talking from the perspective of our members in the chamber, household goods. That's the main area. Then you've got electronics, and after that comes clothing and footwear. When you're looking at, you know, B2C, or, you know, from what companies sell. I would say that the main challenge to sort of like link in with the ESG story is the G part. It's the governance part. It's governance. That is what generates a business environment. And I agree with what Saša said. If you're a real business, you are automatically thinking about E, S, and G. And I also hope it doesn't become a four-letter word, to be honest. You know, you are thinking about these things anyway, because as a business, you have to build long-term relationships with suppliers, with customers, respond to market changes in market trends, preferences of customers. You can spend ages building a brand, a good name, and lose it overnight. So this is something inherent in successful and sustainable businesses anyway. But yeah, so from our perspective, I would also say that in the sphere of e-commerce, to link in with what Ms. Ahmetović said about cash payment and trust, it's also about consumer protection. To build that trust in the region, it takes a little bit more time. We just have to accept that. We don't, we can't expect people in the region to be like Western Europeans. We have different histories.
We read about these famous stories about nice villa in Hvar that someone bought online and came to Hvar and found there is nothing, or just
Nothing
construction
there.
site talking about consumer protection.
Yeah, I mean, in general, I mean, you need to keep an eye on the consumer protection side, because you can lose a lot with one mistake and give up an awful lot of good work that you have done over, let's say, years to get to where you are. So that's why I mentioned the G part of ESG. That for me, it's not just because it's my initial, it's just the most important part, because everything else is more or less, given if you want to be a successful business in the EU, where, for a small open economy like Croatia, like Slovenia, like Serbia, you need to export to be able to generate genuine revenues and to be able to afford the global pricing that Saša mentioned. Thanks.
Perfect. I think we have 1 minute left for just one short question for audience, if you have. Our timing is good. Or anyone of you, Predrag, or someone to say something. To add something.
Maybe one more thing about AI.
Okay.
I didn't mention AI. So AI is now, again, one buzzword, but people found out about AI mostly because of ChatGPT. And it was like a few months ago. But I mean, AI is here for much, much longer time, especially in logistic. We are using it in some processes already to make some, let's say, predictions and everything. But now AI is from business come to private, let's say, people have been able to see it. But the cars, I'm driving the car from 2016, which is able to drive me on the highway from Zagreb to almost end of the highway here. Now it's, in US, it's even further, not only highways. The regulation, I think, is the key. Of course, AI should be regulated, but I'm not sure it's going to be regulated correctly in EU. I'm a bit skeptical, so we need to be clever in regulating it and to use it properly. It's just a tool. If you're going to use it properly, then probably results are going to be good. Yeah,
let me just finish on a positive note. If you know what you're talking about, you've got nothing to worry about AI. If you're good at what you do, it can only help. Exactly. If you're a bluffer, you're in trouble.
Okay, let's finish with this.
Sum it up.
Thank you.